All right, Artem, we are live.
Hello. Yeah.
Good
Hi.
evening in the
Hello,
Ukraine.
everybody. Yeah.
Good evening in the Ukraine.
And good afternoon, USA.
Yeah. I well, I sent out my newsletter last night. It was funny. I was looking for some examples of like facts and perceptions, and one of the things that it was so funny how it came up. One of the things it said as an example was fact. Kiev is the capital of the Ukraine. And I just thought that was funny because obviously that's where you live, of all the things that could have possibly popped up. So today, Artem, I love the quote that you had said to me a long time ago. And I put it as a description for this video is there an obedience component of a dog's brain? And I think you came to that conclusion or that thought process when you were talking to Yasan one day. Is that
Oh,
correct?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you want to talk, just to give a little bit of background on Yasan? And because I think he's been, for both of us.
Yeah. So, yeah, Yason, this is how his name sounds in Russian, but I guess in English it will be Jason Badridze. So, he's scientist from Georgia and he lived with wolves for the 2 years and worked with them for close to 40 years, I guess.
Wow.
And yeah, he raised wolves in captivity, and then those wolves been able to turn back to the wild nature and um, successfully live there, like having pups, hunting, everything of that. Because it's very difficult to raise predator in captivity and making him uh, being able to live in the wild successfully.
Yeah.
So yeah, why he is inspiration for me, to how I get to that quote and why he is inspiration for me, in that sense that how he started um, integrating himself to the wolf's pack. He didn't start it from a sit down state. He started from observation and from the nose. So he represent his smell there in a way that there is no threat.
Yeah.
So it's all about it. It's been all about it. It's been all about behavioral, not teaching those wolves how to communicate with him. Just observing them, learning, and trying to figure out how to do this naturally,
Yeah.
not with some type of techniques.
He tried to fit into their language, not trying to make
Yeah,
them fit into his language.
yeah. He came to learn, not to teach them.
Yeah. Oh, that's a beautiful way to put it. See, you're so wise. Yeah, I had an amazing opportunity to spend some time with him last summer, and one of the things.
Actually, will be sorry.
Yeah,
He will be in US next summer also.
yeah, he'll be back in June doing the same
Yeah.
seminar, which is amazing. He actually shed some light on something that was funny for me. One of my dogs, if you give him a bone, it's like you just ruined his day. Like he just whines and he tries to bury it, and it's just like, oh, dude, like you just created so much stress for me. Like, why did you give me this delicious bone to chew? And he's done that his whole life. And one of the things I learned in that seminar was one of the main selective qualities that they look for in releasing the wolves is called caching, which is so basically what he was saying. I don't want to. Some of these numbers might not be exact, so I'll give some spans. Maybe 4 to 8 months old, the wolf cubs eat as much as a full-grown wolf. So he was saying that if you have to feed multiple cubs plus the rest of the pack, you have to hunt.
Mm-hmm.
You have to hunt a lot. And
Yeah.
caching means hiding food, in these specific places, and then going back to get it later. And he said if a wolf does not do that, they will not be a good candidate to release. And I thought that was really funny because my dog is so like that. I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he didn't eat, if he did eat, if it's 2 o'clock in the morning or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. If you give him a bone, it's just like, oh, like so much stress just got added to his life. So yeah, he's a very fascinating man. And I appreciate you sharing his book with me. I had a heck of a time trying to get it translated from Russian to English, but it was worth it. Let me tell you, it was beautiful. Um, so one of the things, of course, these things technically always are a little different than as soon as I switch this on live, now it's covering up half of my screen. I think both of us were coming. Hi, Rachel. Hi, Alicia. Both of us are coming from this perspective, and we want to be so careful of this, is not to be combative. For us, dog training is not good or bad. We just believe it's not the way dogs think and learn life skills. And the role models that we're looking for in society, which, therapy dogs, service dogs, dogs that have a high training and social skills, that's different than dog training.
Yep.
So what do you think?
Let me.
You started doing typical dog training, right, when you first got involved?
Half.
Okay.
Half of it, and actually, in the middle of my career, I get deeper to dog training style, which called balanced dog training. In the middle. So what about that thing? We have a lot of stray dogs here. None of that dogs are trained the way like we working with dogs when we're talking about dog training, but they're so social, and that social behavior coming from not spending hours to learn how to sit down or stay, but from experiencing life the way dogs should experience it. Are you here?
I am. I'm here. Yeah.
Because you're standing still on my picture.
No, totally.
On my video.
No, I totally get you, and then it's something I never
like it's not it's not about like go through some system and gain something. It's like living and getting life skills, getting experience how to live, not how to do something when people telling sit down, stay, out, all of that stuff plays.
Yeah. So I had made a few videos a while ago with Brandon, and some of the things we talked about were how nature created sit, down, follow, stay, and the difference in why humans do them. So why we try to get our dogs to sit down and all of those, obedience commands, and why nature created sit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it kind of goes back into what we were saying in the beginning is, dogs are only able to think like dogs. And how we get ourselves into trouble is we expect them to understand what we want. So we ask them to sit for our own reasons, yet they only have the ability to understand sit the way they understand it. So for you and your experience, why do dogs sit? I mean, let's just be basic about it.
You know, I really understood that when I heard that from Brandon also.
Mm-hmm.
So it's two reasons: making dog sitting because of two things: rest, or making himself self lower.
Yes.
Submission. Two things.
Yeah. And it's not
That's
so,
all.
and it's not the thing that was always interesting to me, because I was going back and rewatching some of those videos because there's just so much gold in there. Um, he said that, one of the things that a lot of the times we do in obedience training is ask a dog for sitting for durations of time, and
Yeah.
that's not something they do.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Sit is a pausing posture. It's in between a full lay down, which is complete rest, or an itch, or the taking in some information and then deciding what to do with it. It's not something they hold for a duration. You there?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay. Yeah. And I mean, and the same thing with down. Down is a resting position. It's created just like we do from exhaustion. It's not to avoid doing something else.
Yeah.
So I mean, for me, that's, when I see most people asking their dog to do one of those things, it's really because they're trying to get an illusion of control. And I know that's one thing you believe strongly in, is that
Yeah.
illusion of control.
Yeah, because it's like we seen that dog listen to us like down, and dog taking that body posture. So in our brain, it's like he's listening to me, yeah, but it's not solving the problem if he want to lunge at other dog from that down stay, whatever place. Like I do you hear me?
I do.
Something wrong with my internet. Okay, so I often hear that from owners when I talk them before consultation, when they call me for the first time, like he's sitting, but he doing this, that. He is listening to me, but he's doing this, that. Like illusion, like I'm translating that to myself, like he's listening to me, but not listening.
Well,
So
yeah.
you get what I'm saying?
Well, one of the things Brandon had said in that video was, it's a place people search for power where there isn't any power.
Oh yeah.
So they're using these skills of obedience training to gain power in the relationship, yet that's
Mm-hmm.
not why the dog uses them.
Yeah.
And more often than not, the dogs already have this training, yet the problem still exists. And I can't, it's such a like thorn in my side of, then why do we keep doing it? If these dogs in the shelter and in homes, you get the calls, I get the calls, the dogs know how to do these life skills that are so valuable, yet they still can't control the behaviors. Their dog still doesn't know when they don't like something.
Yep.
And that just, I don't know. I mean, is there not something else? I mean, where do you think it comes from? Is it just a lot of good marketing? Is that what most people are thinking is training?
I don't know. Need to, I guess. Few times not tried. I wanted to investigate it a little bit, but I didn't.
Yeah,
I guess it's all come from like military type of training.
yeah,
At least here, like whole dog training facilities and dog training schools, which existing more than 30 years here. They all from Soviet Union. How to say, police departments
Hmm.
have that background.
Working dogs.
Yeah, working dogs.
Hmm.
So I
Which
guess it's come from there.
which to me is a lot more of a management problem.
Yeah.
I mean, because they're not looking to take, most of those people aren't looking to take their dog for a polite stroll down the sidewalk.
And the goal is quite different, and I guess we should say that it's okay to have training if it is working dog. It's okay to have training if it is police dog. It's okay to have training if it's search and rescue and all of that kind of jobs that dog have, because we're giving that jobs to them, not natural jobs, but they can do this. But for example, like I watched on YouTube, I guess it was in London, some type of like people being disagree about something about government, and a lot of people was in the streets, and police officers were there with dogs like German Shepherds, Malinos, and dogs been lunging. They just hold them, and they know how to sit down, bite out, all of this stuff. But for working dog, it's like, I guess for people who working with working dogs, like that emotional state of mind, it's okay because it helps to do the job.
Yeah, and from my experience, um, working in those situations with those people, it's a lot to ask for a dog to have an impeccable amount of control and then also be a good canine, good citizen. Because if you need a dog to go in a building and fight a bad guy,
Mm-hmm.
he can't also think that there's people that can beat him, right? He's got to have an exorbitant amount of confidence, and to keep that balance of confidence and control, it's a dance. Because it's something I had struggled with when I got my first Malinois. I wanted to walk them, and that's the kind of lifestyle I live. But
Mm-hmm.
then you could also see in other places they were a little bit more sensitive because they're used to that. So um, it's a fine line between the working dogs and how much control they need in the work, and to me the fairness of, don't jump on my guests, don't do this, don't do that, and then be perfect when I ask you to hold something, and then do that. I mean, 90% of their life would just be like, just so much rules and control. They just want to go live in their crate, just like, I just want to go chill out. It's just too much. um, I often wonder what, because it's something I care a lot about, is, so you spend a lot of time learning these obedience commands and then they don't work. What do you see that changes the relationship with the dog and the human? Do you see that the dog starts acting a different way towards their human? How does the human feel about their dog? They've put this time in to sit and down, thinking that that's going to stop the actual problem that they're looking to stop. Um, what do you think happens in the human canine relationship? Do you think it adds more confusion?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
like human and the dog go into the different direction. You know, I will add this thing. For me, the things that we do, and most of the things that I know right now, I learned as you from Brandon Fouché. And for me, behavior will exist without me. Like, it's already there. And dog training also require human being there and doing something.
Hmm.
So, like dog psychology, real dog psychology, it's already existing without us for many, 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 many years, like thousands of years. And our goal to observe, learn, and only then do something. Dog training, it's all about, okay, you have a dog, you need to do this, that, that, that.
Yeah. And this is a
Why?
yeah. Well, this is a good question right here that Darcy's pointing out because it's something that that I hear a lot, and it's I personally feel that I need some training for my dog to safely go into our local town. I need my dog to listen to me and follow commands since most of the others we run into don't have control. I see it as safety for me and my dog. Um, and that's something, did you understand all of that, Artem?
Yeah.
Okay. It's something I hear a lot of. Um, and I get what people are saying. I don't disagree because, again, this you have to do what works for you. Um, but I mean, I would like some more examples or dogs rushing up to you off leash. I mean, all of those kinds of things. But if your dog, so let's go back into this. One of the things that I had revisited in one of the in Brandon's videos with me was stay. He was saying the way we teach stay is this long duration. It's an activity. The dog is in a position. Stay to a dog actually has a danger component to it, which is different than the way we teach it. And if you think
Yeah.
about it, if you're walking down the street and you see something that you're not sure of, you stay away from it. So when I'm
Yeah.
walking the streets and I see, maybe like a homeless person is having like maybe a mental episode or something, I absolutely have compassion for them, but I also stay away because I feel a slight bit of danger.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's one of the things that most people confuse their dog with, which is I'm going to throw objects to teach you to go forward constantly, go towards stimulants, go towards things. Yet, when I ask you to do something obedience wise, it's to go backwards or stop doing something. And our dogs have this contradictory lifestyle of you love it when I go forward, excited, put my mouth on things, yet you also then want me to be controlled. So one of the things I learned, um, one of the things that Brandon talked a lot about, in his YouTube videos and other things, is a street dog stays away from things they're apprehensive of. So when I
Oh
start
yeah.
walking down the street and a street dog sees me, they cross the street, they speed up, they stay away. And our dogs don't have that ability because they're on leash, but we do have the ability to teach them to move away from things. And moving away is a natural quality that dogs learn very early as puppies. To stay away from my spot when I'm not ready to nurse. There's a million ways for an animal to learn to use his feet backwards. And if a dog is acting crazy, your dog shouldn't want to go towards them anyway. It should be like, whoa, what's going on over there? And move backwards. So I'm not saying that. I mean, I personally, in the last couple years, never ask my dogs to sit, and I take them a lot of places. And I don't see that as some like badge of honor. I literally, once I started going down this path, could not figure out an opportunity when I would need them to sit. I can't. I used lay down, which Kita has, my Malinois has a tremendous amount of training. I used lay down for the first time in a long time because I had to ice her foot. And that was the only time in years that I could figure out that I needed to get her to stay in a spot and lay down. And it was because she had to ice her foot. So I'm not saying that there's no value. I'm just saying that it's really tough for me to find a reason. And the more I've researched that, the more I feel like it's trapping my dog in an ability to not make, I'm saying that what I feel is more important than what you're feeling. So there's a bad dog coming and, lunging and pulling, in your mind. And then I'm going to ask you to sit and stay and trap you emotionally when you might want to run, which is what a street dog would do. And that to me is something I hear a lot of, but I don't see a lot of people understanding that concept of teaching a dog what to do with their feet. And Darcy just jumped in and said, is that when Brandon talks about something is mine, claiming something? That's one way to teach your dog how to move their feet. So if I'm getting ready to eat dinner and I put my food bowl down and I turn to my dog and I say, that's mine, they should treat it like a bubble. That's like, I'm a mom and these are my puppies. Everybody better back off. It's mine. And it's something that you can carry over to walking down the street and seeing a dog and saying, that's mine. Then your dog should not want to go near it. The problem is we do a lot of things and we say, that's mine. And the dog's like, oh, what's that? And then they run over and they get involved because they're used to our voice and what to do with their feet, which is to go towards something versus going away. I mean, you have a dog. Do you ask Camila to sit ever?
Before Brandon, yes.
Yeah. But you take her to the coffee shop. I see her walk around the street. I mean,
Everywhere. No,
yeah.
no heel, no stay, no sit, nothing.
Yeah.
I'm not even calling her when I'm walking. I have that park, that's in front of my house. Mostly I'm not calling her because I'm just moving and she's following.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a good exercise for the dog park. We can talk about that. That's one of the things a lot of people don't do well when they're out is they stand still versus walking.
I guess if I get it right, the problem that lady have that comment.
Mm-hmm.
So she said that she need to have some training, and training is all about body postures, which somehow we seen as a solution. But solution for what? So if she have problems, she definitely have problems, not because the dog is not sitting or lay down, just because she have problems with reactions.
Yes.
So dog is reacting. Why? Because the dog seeing something and have emotion and going. So this is the problem, and this is on what she should work on.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like if I'm late on my plane and somebody will say, sit down, just chill out. And I'm late. I need to be on an airport. So this is not what will help me right now. Yeah, I need taxi to get there, to release that emotion, not to sit down.
Well, one of my favorite quotes is from Ralph Waldo Emerson, and it kind of sums everything up that Brandon talks about. And it's the ancestor to every action is a thought.
Is a thought.
Yeah. It means that the emotion is driving some type of behavior. And if you think about it with a lot of people, I've been doing a lot of fasting over the last couple months, and I realized how impulsively I eat, even if I'm not hungry. So some type of emotion is in me, which is creating an action to grab the refrigerator or to have a coffee or something. And that to me is the complete opposite of dog behavior, where we think some behavior is going to change the dog's emotion. And, I was an ornery kid, and every time somebody told me to sit down and relax, that wasn't what I needed. I had something else going on. Like you were talking about, there was an emotion that was going on. And, and I think that's, it's just because people often say, all right, I get it. Now what do I do? And that's, for me, is usually like, I know you're not ready yet. Because if you say that, then you just want to do something else because you just want to get your problem to get solved. And there's just so much observation in just yourself and your dog trying to figure out, why is this emotional for both of us? I mean, we see dogs, we get tense, we don't even realize it, and that's sending tension to our dog. our dog's lunging and we get embarrassed. I mean, there's all of these things that happen. And yeah, that quote to me um, has been Kimberly. Kimberly loved your analogy of getting to the airport, Artem, of having to sit. I think you have a fan.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Kimberly is one of our good friends that's in the our small group of 4 people that we talk a lot of this stuff out with on a daily basis, and why we wanted to kind of do this show, because these are the things that we're talking about, where our brain goes. I mean, I can't tell you how much Artem and I like tread around all of these topics, because we're not. I don't like, you have that Jacques Cousteau quote that I love. It's like,
No,
I'm
not
not trying.
Cousteau.
Oh, say it again. I
Okay.
always say Jacques Cousteau. Who?
Yeah.
Rousseau. Jean-Jacques Rousseau.
Jean-Jacques Rousseau, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not trying to convince you of anything. I'm just trying to share. That's it. I don't. And um, yeah, so many of our dogs are struggling with emotional problems because they are emotional creatures, and we're using physical solutions to try to stop these problems. We're trying to put a lock on the refrigerator to stop the overeating, and it's just not going to work. And
yeah, we have crates to solve separation and anxiety.
yes, exactly.
And crate is not bad, but the problem exists not because of the crate, no matter we have it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, again, let me maybe, I'll try a little bit summarize my thoughts about difference
Yeah.
in dog training and dog behavior. As I said earlier, dog behavior exists thousands of years. And dog training is, okay, dog behavior is something natural. It's from nature. Dog training is system, different type of system, but if I will generalize it, it will be a system which made by humans to make dogs do something. And maybe it will be hardcore example. Remember, I said it to you. You will hear it again. Like, if we have serial killer, and we will teach him to drive one-wheel bicycle, will he change? Will he have that change here?
Mm-hmm.
Will he stop killing? No, he just have a skill. That's all. So, especially if we're talking about aggression is something natural. And if you're trying to solve it with our own conceptions, which does not exist here at all. So it's like behavior exists here, and we somewhere there trying to solve it.
Yeah.
Like for me, like that I last 3 months I learned how to drive a car.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a different person right now because I can drive a car.
Yeah.
I just know how to drive a car, but it's not solving. It's actually can be create more problems, because if, for example, I have problems with patience, I will be nervous on roads. Like if somebody doing something not as fast as I wanted, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So it's just a skill, and it's not making me a different person. So dogs can learn and commands. Dogs can do them, but it has nothing to do with behavior, because it's not even, how to say, close to it. It's different.
Yeah.
For example, if people asking like, if I cannot fetch, how I can play with my dogs here where people can use dog training, but carefully. Tricks just for tricks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um,
Do we have any questions there?
yeah, there was some, a lot, people are commenting and stuff too, but one of the things that one of the things that that resonates with me in that situation is, like you said, it's one of to me, one of Brandon's most amazing quotes of why we have problems with dogs. It's very
Uh-huh.
simple. Dogs can only think like dogs.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's all.
The problem we have is we expect them to understand what we want. So
Yeah.
I teach you to do this thing and I expect you to take it a certain way. And then
And
when it doesn't happen that way, we penalize the dog. Well, that's not what I meant, but I'm only capable of thinking like a dog. So, I taught you sit. You shouldn't do that. That's your interpretation. But you need to teach the way your student learns. And dogs don't learn, they don't educate each other through obedience positions. I mean, anybody that follows you and me on Instagram, we have dog yards going constantly, and there's a lot of communication going on there, and
yeah.
none of it has to do with positions
Yeah.
that are human created. If I did a short little, I just caught it at the very end. I had a dog that comes today, and he's very excitable. He's very excitable, and he's just like dogs, and he's actually a lot of fun to play, with the dogs that like to play with him. But as soon as I let one dog out, he flipped over on his back instantly, and that's an alpha role. That was strength of personality creating a submissive posture so that he knew what he was supposed to do. Okay, this is a hierarchy situation. I want to make sure I don't get myself in trouble. So I'm going to flip over. I'm going to let this dog do what they want to do, which is the physical manipulation. Smell me all over. They're done. They walk away. I can get up. I get up carefully and thoughtfully, and then I move along my day. Then he's playing with another dog who's putting the pressure on him of like play bowing and barking at him, and he sits because he thinks like, what am I doing here? But that sit is only temporary because then he started to
Yeah.
walk or then he starts to play back. But, in his mind, all of these positions that he's using are coming from the inside. They're a feeling that's driving
Yeah.
him.
How he feel? Yeah.
It's how he feels. The emotion then creates an action. And for me, if we're honest about it as humans, that's exactly what we do. We have an emotion, and then we put the pressure on our dog to make us feel okay. Oh, no, there's a dog coming. Sit. But I'm not the one having the problem. You're the one having the problem, human. You think that I'm going to do A, B, C, D, not realizing the reason I do A, B, C, D is because you keep asking me to do this, and it just doesn't make sense to me. So, that's where we kind of went back to that illusion of control. A lot of people will practice that to aid themselves in the emotion they're going through in the moment. And then it sometimes works, sometimes doesn't, depending on the dog. Because, again, it can work. There is subordinate type, dogs that are subordinate enough that it will
Oh
work.
yeah.
But it
Yeah.
doesn't mean that they're still enjoying the process. It doesn't mean that they wouldn't rather be a dog and be communicated to like a dog would. Um, what about
No. Another thing. Do you finish?
um, so my mother-in-law, this is actually funny because this is one of the things Brandon had said to me. He was talking about stay, and it's exactly my mother-in-law's question. First off, my mother-in-law loves Artem. I think I'm second on her list right now. I'm a pretty damn good husband too, but I still got second. I know my place. It's fine. But if you've ever been to Brandon's, he lives on not a busy street, but there's across the street from a bus depot, and there's people that drive up and down. And he said, "Come here," and he walked and he opened the door and he said, "What would you tell your dog to do right now?" And I don't know if it was an analogy or if he was actually asking me, but basically the moral of the story was most people would ask their dog to sit, stay. They would bring in the trash can, and then they would come back. And that's because their dog hasn't been able to socialize and assess danger. When you watch dogs walk down the street that are street dogs, they don't have to stay out of the street. They've had a situation. They have put their hand on the stove and been burnt, so they've learned not to run in the street. They learned what cars are. Our problem is we always try to interject with liability. I don't want them to get hurt. I get all that. Like, I understand we don't want our dogs to get hit by cars, but we also have to learn the way nature teaches, which is through consequences. Consequence therapy is such a powerful part of the way dogs learn. You know, if you put your hand on the stove, you never have to put your hand on the stove again to realize that it's hot. So
Yeah.
I just, had a situation the other day. I took my dogs to the dog beach, and as soon as I started to walk, I forgot my leashes at the other end because I was with somebody and they were a little bit more cautious about their dogs. And the reason we went is because she wanted to go through that feeling. So she stayed at the one end because she wasn't feeling confident, but I had to go get my leashes and all my stuff. So I walked over there, got my backpack. About a quarter of the way there, I realized that these people started grabbing their dogs, and it wasn't going to be a good situation for me because I knew that their dogs would, the way they were feeling, their dogs were feeling confined mentally. So a lot of times when a dog's confined mentally, or physically, but not mentally, they explode. So they charge over and they cause all this ruckus because they've never had this experience before. But a dog that's been learned how to do it mentally doesn't have that feeling of like living behind a fence and the barriers. So I literally did that. I turned around and I went like this, hey, and my dog stopped. And then I took a couple steps and they went to follow me cautiously, and I went back at them like this. And they just all sat and laid down. And I was saying, don't follow me. And that's my right to say, all of this is mine now. I don't want you following me. So I walked over 100 feet, whatever it was, grabbed my leashes and walked back. As soon as I got within a distance, there was a stress that came back with them. We're reuniting. So they came up to me and they were smelling the leashes and they went, and I just kept walking. And they never went over to those other dogs because there was no need. If I had have held them back, as soon as I got there, the dog would have ran right over. And he would have ran, my dogs would have ran right to those other dogs thinking like, oh my God, I got to get over there. I've never smelled a dog's butt before. What does all this mean? So being able to experience the consequences of those actions is how the dogs learn. So she's got a special situation. Her dog has an injured leg, and she's saying that she wants the dog to stay away from the steps because he can't go down. So I get it. So, I mean, I wouldn't say, I think to me, like, stay is an obedience command people use and they teach. But for me, there's also like, where for me, sometimes I just chase my dogs out of a room for no reason. Go, get. And they're like, whoa, I'm not allowed in here anymore? Nope, because I'm about to do something. So there's other ways that you can teach it the way they learn besides asking them to stay in a spot for a period of time. Because when I shoo my dogs out of a room, I don't care where they go. They can go in the bedroom, they can sit, they can lay down, they can itch, they can do whatever they want. I don't put a confinement on their action, except for right now.
And this gives way more freedom than go from here to the place or hold down. Way more freedom.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What are both of your go-to ways? So, okay, so somebody wants to know, what are our go-to ways to disagree with behavior? And what do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
Now go you.
I don't have a go-to way. That'd be like saying to me, like, what's my go-to way to treat a friend? The way I talk to you, Artem, no offense, is completely different than the way I talk to Teresa. And it's completely different than the way I talk to Kimberly and Joanna and Peter and all my other friends. There is no go-to way. My best thing is observing and setting the environment up to where either the environment can teach that lesson or the environment's going to teach the lesson. But for me, it's about understanding what that animal needs to have that disapproval. And some dogs are physically oriented, some dogs are mentally oriented, as Brandon talks about, some are both. So there is no, for me, like, I go like a lot of dog trainers. First, I use a slip lead. And if that doesn't work, then I use a pinch collar. If that doesn't work, then I use the e-collar. Then if that doesn't, there is no like check of systems for me. I disagree the way an animal understands, and the first way is to understand the way they communicate. Artem?
Can you? I guess I understand it right now when you.
So here's an example. So say
The question.
Yeah.
Can you use another words
Totally.
to describe that question?
And don't use this as this example exactly, but I'll just give you an example.
Yeah.
Don't say what you would do, just talk about how you might think about the process. So say somebody's walking down the street and the dogs bark at the fence.
Uh-huh.
Say you're walking down the street and the dog decides to start
So
pulling.
what to do? The question is what to do or what?
Exactly. Do you have
In general.
have a
Yeah.
strategy that you go to where some people do? Some people use a squirt bottle, some people throw cans, whatever. Do you have what's your feeling on that as far as a question?
If something happens,
Yes.
I want that dog understand my expectation before we get to that situation.
Ah, very good. Very good. Yeah.
And to have like, if the dog understand my expectation, that means that we have relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And if we have relationships, it means that we have proper hierarchy from the dog perspective, not humans perspective. Because dog training is also like, I heard it a lot that it's creating hierarchy. No way, no, not like this. Dog training, like hierarchy, created by being an alpha, not teaching that you are alpha.
It was like the alpha role that my one dog did to another dog this morning. He didn't tell him to say. He came out with a strength of personality that made that.
Yeah, and to be an alpha, it's more about observing them and controlling myself, not them first.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, for example, today came one of my favorite husky that I have for boarding, and she's like little devil.
Isn't it funny, the ones we like?
And I didn't touch her, but I had that feeling. But I didn't touch her.
Yeah.
I wanted to pet her. Not like it was so like hard for me not to pet her, but just, you want to pet her, but not now. Okay, you know why, yeah? Okay. So and everything went good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's more about what to do. It should be background before getting somewhere.
Yeah.
And background is having hierarchy from the dog perspective.
Yeah.
It's like nobody can like, for example, if it is a person, there is no courses for me. Let's say that person have a name, Ivan, yeah? In English, you have that name, Ivan.
Yeah.
Okay, let it be Billy. So the guy is Billy, yeah?
Yep.
And it's because it's the same in our world. So there is no courses for me which can teach me to respect Billy. I will observe his behavior, I will communicate with him, and then I will make some conclusion. What kind of feelings I have towards him? Do I respect him because the way he is or not? So it's no system where Billy can gain my respect through teaching me how to respect him. Like, you get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. So this is totally. So this is a question. I believe it's Elena. This was a kind of an interesting question. So she had talked about, you say nature teaches dogs everything. How can nature teach a dog not to eat everything without my constant control over every step? So there was an experiment that was done a long time ago with wolves, where they would feed them live animals. They put a sheep in there, they would kill it, like wolves do. Eventually, one of the things they did was they actually poisoned the sheep. So when they killed them, all the wolves get sick. All of them got violently ill. The next time they put a sheep in there, the wolves wouldn't kill it. And it's an interesting video because the sheep starts pawing and backing the wolves off. So there was this complete flip in nature of the wolves knew last time they ate this, it made them sick, and they put it in pieces with the sheep. So they knew that the sheep did that. And it actually emboldened the sheep and confused them, because then he started to move the predator's feet, which is fascinating. So they do have this built-in nature to know what makes them sick and not after they eat. One of the big things I think people do is they try to get their dog when they're sick to eat, and dogs know when they should eat or not eat. That being said, chocolate smells delicious, and if a dog eats enough, they're going to die. So we can't have that happen. So I get that. I mean, that's why for me, there's like one of the things Brandon talks about is we have to raise werewolves that are half human and half dogs. So it's not whether a dog should eat it or shouldn't eat it. It's this: you drop something on the floor and you say, "Hey," and the dogs back away, then yes. Like, I can't just like let my dog eat a bunch of chocolate and get sick. It's just not going to work. So I'm not saying like the extreme of let the dogs be wild and off leash. We have rules and laws, like there is a balance to that. But there is also part of nature that has fixed that problem. If a dog does eat something, they can relate it back to, oh my God, that makes me sick. So, yeah, I mean, it's.
And again, it's hierarchy question, like the dog having something and it's resource for him, which one he can eat, and then you claiming it. No, that's mine. The dog swallowing it out.
Yeah. And it's not, again, another dog doesn't walk up to a dog.
And it's not about teaching how, like,
exactly.
Conditioning to it, like many repetitions. No, it's just there. If you can make that dog feel that food belongs to you, the dog will release it from the mouth.
And the most important skill they do is back up.
Yeah.
They move backwards. And it's not about outing. It's about my presence creating I say that to my clients all the time.
Submission. It's actually submission.
Yeah. I say it to my clients all the time. What do you do when your boss walks into your office? You get more thoughtful. Oh, hey, how are you, Mary? What can I do for you? Right? You don't actually get more excited. Right? If you're sitting in the CEO's chair and she walks in, you move. You're like, oh, there she is. Jane's here. Here's her seat. Right? Oh, Tom's here. It's, even though I was having a conversation here, we understand hierarchy ourselves. We just lose it with our animals. And it's, that's a whole other topic of why, which would be fascinating to have if anybody is a therapist or a psychiatrist, Artem and I have been talking a lot about that kind of stuff lately. And, some of the motives behind that. So if you are, send an email or contact us on Instagram. And we'd love to have you on and talking about those kinds of topics. So we promised ourselves we'd be shorter this time. Is there anything, Artem, summing it up, that you have? Any last thoughts? Anything in particular? No?
I have thought that will be longer than 5 minutes.
Yeah, well, jot that thought down and we can do a topic on that again. I mean, that's, I think, for me, I'd love to just leave it as observe, remember, compare, which a famous horse trainer, Ray Hunt, talks about. Observe, remember, compare. And it's very hard to observe if you're making your dogs do things all the time, how they really feel emotionally. If you're always putting your emotions into it, how do we really know how they're feeling? And that's a powerful piece. If you care. So, All right. Allison said she wants to hear it, Artem. Let's go. What's your thought? Let's end it on this.
We'll try to summarize it again, but in a different way. So, behavior exists without us. To be able to communicate with the animal from that side, we need to observe and we need to learn and understand them. So, and if you will observe, we will see that things that we want them to do will lead us every time to relationships. And relationships with the dog we should build on hierarchy, but not from the human perspective, but from their perspective. It is to be someone whom they listen to, not to teach them to listen, mostly. And what we need is to make them as much social as we can. And we actually cannot, for my personal opinion, how to say, lead them through whole things that we have in humans world and make them social if we don't have influence on them. They will not listen. Like if the dog will afraid, they will not follow me if I'm nobody to him. If dog is aggressive, the dog will not listen to me if I'm nobody to him, just a friend.
Yeah.
So, because we need to have that conclusion. It's all about making dogs social. As homeless dogs, they can stay away from many things. They not bite people if people not making huge mistakes. They not fighting with pet dogs, so they coexisting with us, and we have zero problems with them.
Yeah.
So this is how I want my dog to be. And dogs that I'm working with, like if I'm moving, they just follow. If I'm telling back off, they just back off. And I'm not spending hours in my yard to practicing that with a treat and clicker and not like this.
Mm-hmm.
Just in daily routine, I'm teaching them, but it's like relationships with wife, yeah, daily routine, and then from there we're learning many things about each other.
Yeah.
So it's about socialization.
Yeah,
and that was big. I heard that word before, but when I heard it from Brendan, it blew my mind. And in the same year when I found Brendan, I found Jason Badridze. And he actually made wolves like he made them social into the wild, because who are dogs? They social predators.
Yeah.
So we need that predators to be more social if we want have no problem with them.
Yeah. And we plan on, we're trying to work out time-wise. I mean, right now it's almost 11 p.m. for Artem. And Yasan, it's 2 hours even, farther. So we're trying to figure out a time to get him on because he has a lot of interesting stories to share about this. So we might just have to pre-record it and then, share it as a live or whatever. But, I think a lot of what he has to say makes so much sense. Cool, man. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. And if you want to follow Artem, you can see his Instagram handle down there and at the dog side and thedogside.com. If you need anything from us, feel free to reach out. And yeah, man, I appreciate your time.
Me too.
Sleep well, my man.
Yeah, and thanks to everybody who joined us.
Absolutely. We love it. We love the questions. Keep them coming. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful afternoon. Bye.
Bye.